Hello, everybody. Hi, my name is Nicolette, and I'm very excited to be doing my first sharing here on Connections. I am saying hello from Cape Town, South Africa, and it is an absolutely beautiful morning. The sun is out, which is exciting because it's still winter for us and we can see the beginnings of spring. So I sat with this for a little bit, how to do my first sharing, and I think let me tell you a little bit about my background. Um, I am very connected to the spirit world, and I have been since a child. And I'm one of those kids that loved fairies and collecting rocks and crystals. And as an adult, I love fairies and collecting rocks and crystals. And I've always had this natural ability to see. And at about 20, I found myself in a forest with a bunch of other people who could see and channel, and joined a sort of soul family where we began really working with spiritual energy in a group together. And before the current understanding of octarians and all these galactic beings, we were doing that and seeing all these beautiful tall beings and archangels and angels and speaking in light language before it was identified. So that was really interesting for my development. And being an artist, I loved what I saw and I often enjoyed painting it. But I didn't really notice or feel the call to work with other people in that time period. I was focused on being a visionary and receiving information. But at 29, they say that's the Saturn return. Well, I had a bit of tragedy, and unfortunately, I lost both my parents 6 months apart, and it was huge, huge for me. And what that did is it spurred me to really do some deep self-development and really drop into the heart space and to realize who I am and what I have to offer. And what that brought about was me learning to facilitate healing, which was obviously the natural step because I'd been already spending 10 years working with guides, but I hadn't actually taken it much further. And that was a beautiful process because I immediately escalated into removals of entities and really heavy things, which is really not my not my favorite because I really prefer, the lighter side of life. But I had to almost go on that shamanic type of journey to really see what was there in order to have boundaries energetically, as well as to work with anything that comes my way. So I had that as a teaching, and then I did Reiki to teach it. But inevitably, I'm self-taught because I receive information from beyond. So a lot of the activations and attunements that I now offer come directly, and they still keep coming, what is needed within the energy body and how to elevate the frequencies and allow integration for each and every person, because everyone is at a different space, and it's almost like tuning somebody or ourselves to a different radio frequency. So if you can imagine, we're all in A frequency right now. And what a facilitator could do is if they're at a different frequency and they sense, for instance, that you're in a trauma space and you need to feel more nurturing, nourishing harmony, what they can do is tune in themselves to that frequency and emanate it toward you so that you have the option to first experience it and secondly integrate it. So yeah, I'm not the kind of healer where people generally cry on my bed, although tears do come. It often comes up in an energetic wave and sort of moves right through. So I see myself more in a scientific quantum type field. And I work, maybe it's because I'm an Aquarius, I work in that way. And I'm really, really drawn to crystals. And I use that system of receiving and transmitting with my crystal work. And one of the things that is sort of my signature offering is working in small groups and being able to activate and attune groups of maybe up to 12. And I work with maybe a particular crystal energy, and I work on the astral space and actually create that space. And with my guides, we work like that. So in a way, I'm a big antennae, which I suppose is like a sign of clear empathy, clear sentience, which is that energetic experience of really experiencing not just emotions, but everything about the world around me, crystals, people, that kind of thing. And what else? So yeah, working in a quantum field means you work in many timelines, many dimensions, and you sort of integrate and bring it in. So when you're working with quantum fields, you're also working with what energy really is, and that will break down into, for me, color, sound or vibration. I wrote some notes. Yeah, and like when you're working with the emotion, the color, and the sound, that's how I think everything ties together. And then I often see things visually with light codes or with sound. And I think that's the building blocks of the whole existence, especially in this matrix or this dimension we're currently in. And obviously there's crossovers, so it's quite beautiful because you can, make connections on all the different dimensional spaces if you're in a theta space and maybe even a delta space. So you're actually so deep, almost hypnotic within like a trance space. So that's how I work. I'm not a psychic that generally, I see auras, but I don't generally talk to someone and start seeing a light show. I try and close off and contain so that I can be absolutely regular and a mom and deal with life. But when I'm in a space to receive, I make sure that I use breath and I slow everything down and I put myself in that theta space. And one of the breaths that I enjoy using is I think it's called the Yujie breath from yoga. I didn't do a lot of yoga, to be honest, but I've had smatterings of Tai Chi and yoga, And one thing that stuck with me is that really deep inhalation through the nose and then like that sighing at the back of your throat out, like a long breath. And that puts me into the most amazing space to channel and to receive and to work with energy. And since then, I've been really, mind blown by breath. I had the experience of attending some Sufi breathing workshops, which is like shamanic Sufi breathing, which is, for those who don't know, Sufism is the mystical sect related to Islam, but not, it's kind of like Rumi. So it's not, a lot of Muslim people are not affiliated with Sufism. But Sufism is quite amazing because it's the whirling dervishes, the people that spin round and round and round. And I was lucky enough to make a friend who was a Sufi, and he did drumming, and we learned to breathe and jump and begin to whirl. And that was really a pinnacle because it was amazing the energy one can work with when you're breathing correctly. You don't even get dizzy. It's just this constant focus on the out breath, so you're oxygenating. And then I further learned that holotropic breathing is when you lie still, often held in a space by a facilitator, and you don't move, and you breathe in through the mouth equally in and out. And what that does is it also puts you into an intense trance space, and you can really go deep within. And I believe that is very much an ancient system that has its place now in society. And what I like about it, there's no toxins involved. And, if it's facilitated by the right person, it's a very clear space. I think it's always very important to have discernment in the spiritual world, much like you would if you went to a party. You wouldn't go necessarily and talk to everyone without having some boundaries up. And in the same way, who you work with spiritually or who you connect with from beyond, spirit guides, people who have passed over, anything like that, you'd have a similar type of internal checklist going on, knowing what you're dealing with and summing it up quickly and knowing how far you'll share or connect. And that's very important. I know a lot of people who just come into the journey, they're very wide open. And, I pride myself in having a childlike heart, even now in my 40s, but I have always found that it's very important to, regardless, have spiritual discernment. And that's something I teach through my mediumship classes and Reiki, that the most important thing is trust your intuition and have discernment. love compassionately, but have boundaries. And that's, I suppose it's my own path and, where I have found my teachings. And look at some of the comments. Yeah, you're also Aquarius. So many Aquarians are in this field. Hi, Amit. I had a look at your live the other day. It was wonderful. Oh. Yeah. Breathings, I don't know if anyone else has been feeling this, but in the past months, there has been a very large jump in consciousness for many of us. And with that, I have felt, I wouldn't even put it into chakras, but I have felt like a new person. Like, if I usually would say the bottom level of like rock bottom of when you hit a low, it's down here. Let's put this on the scale of 1 to 10. Let's say that was 1. I feel like I'm now at a 4 or something. So when I have a dip, it's just easier to pick up. And I really think the ascension of all this, what's happening, there is the first wave or whatever one wants to call it. There is something happening that's really exciting, like truly exciting. And I'm feeling a huge shift with wanting to do daily routines, wanting to move my body. I live a hop and a skip away from the beach. So, I've lived this side for quite a decade. I've never gone for cold water, morning swims in the sea. I'm doing it now. I'm doing walks, and this all feels like part of the shift where we are learning as I know some of us watching won't be energy practitioners, but I feel that there is a group of us who are working as facilitators for others who are now learning how important it is to really put into practice all these things that we should always be doing, that daily time out, that daily stretching, finding ways to level the energy out and to have this beautiful, moderate continuation of high energies. Because the energies are more intense in many ways. I know even with my sessions, I can see more stuff around people because people are, one of the things that popped in my head is if you walk through a pond, and you are watching your feet and obviously it's getting all the mud up, and it feels like a lot of this year has been like all your shadows have been coming up. And that's really, you can put you in quite a low because you kind of have all this mirror and it feels heavy. And if you just stand still and look at the sun and just find your peace, it all settles down gently and you can go, look at it bit by bit and take another step slowly, mindfully. And I think that's kind of the analogy that I've been sitting with this year. Thank you, Amit. No, I haven't traveled. I am somebody who's never really left Cape Town. But I've traveled in the spirit realm, but I haven't traveled the world. How peculiar. But I joke that we've got it all in Cape Town. We have Table Mountain, we have forests, we have beaches. And what I like especially about living here as a spiritual community is really big. In my experience, every 2 out of 10 people are working in the esoteric field. So it's a beautiful space and most people relate. And it's kind of, we call it the Wild West because it's a little bit, not always the safest in some ways. And one has to be on some vigilance as far as what it's like in Cape Town. But then at the same time, you work in that trust and you work in creating this beautiful energy around you and you've just got everything at hand. And by living this life where the rules are not as in place as a country, in a way, not like I hear that Australia or whatever has very strict regulations. It does give you more chance for entrepreneurship, more chance to feel a little bit more free. And I do hear from people who have been around the world that it's quite an amazing thing. So I am appreciative of living in Cape Town. Oh, you've been to Cape Town? Wonderful. Yeah, it is so beautiful, isn't it? It's, I look out the window and I'm just surrounded by mountains and the ocean. So it does make for working with energy really, really easy because you have the access of the elemental world all around you. And, between sessions, I'm able to pop out and cleanse and reset. And, the ocean, the waves as they crash, they allow for negative ions and that sound, that like humming of the ocean waves. I can hear it from where I live. And, again, that sound comes through you know, humming is so amazing. It's so somatic. Chanting, oming, all of that is so powerful. Sometimes when I work with Lemurian guides, they actually, and some galactic guides, they work a lot with sound, and I can actually psychically hear the sounds and actually emanate it. And it's very powerful in sessions. Yeah. Gosh. And I've only done 15 minutes. I must be talking super speed. How funny. Okay. Let's see, what else can I share? Let's think. Well, I'm going to tell you about something else I love then. I'm going to tell you about tachyon energy tools. And I'm sure many of you haven't heard of tachyons. And besides crystals, that's my other go-to. And I understand we don't need physical items because we can tune into any frequency. But I am somebody who loves working with tools regardless. There is something so beautiful. I work a lot with creating grids. And yeah, I like to hold things when I do the remote or distant work. I do a lot of international work. So a tachyon, let me show you a tachyon. Okay, so basically it's similar to 0-point energy. It is a piece of sort of glass and boron. This one is made in a factory in Switzerland. And what happens to it, that it becomes special and not just a piece of pretty glass, is they put it through a magical machine with a recipe that I do not know. And it changes the molecular structure from being unordered into a state of order. And that allows for potential, which allows for tachyon energy, which is like 0-point energy, to go into the item. The item then never needs cleansing, and when you touch it, it goes into your energy field. And what that means is the intelligent life force energy will go where it's needed. And that could be anything from an organ to an energy leak, or something like that. So considering it's more neutral energy compared to, say, crystals, which have a sentience and like almost a beingness, this really does feel almost how I imagine Atlantis may have worked, where it's really just tangible, neutral, instant energy. And that allows the practitioner to really direct it where needed and how. And if it's not a practitioner and just working with it, it just enhances your field for, say, meditation or something like that. And there's several different tachyon shapes, colors. You can wear them, and they work on sacred geometry and color. But ideally, they're all tachyons the same way. So for me, being that I deplete of energy sometimes, I like to use this because it helps me to hold my field and to get more life force in. Sorry, must be my throat chakra. Okay, also it's early morning here. So this is another tachyon. This one's like a half sphere, and it's got a spiral pyramid in it, which is really cool. And this one I have out because it is for the throat chakra, which is something that I really needed today. I'm actually very shy. So this is a big push doing live videos, but I do teach online and I do spiritual coaching and things like that. So what else? Besides the tachyons and the crystals, I am fond of rocks. Like I started the video, I love collecting rocks. One of the ones that I work with, and maybe everybody would be surprised, is not crystals, but I often find myself holding a beach pebble. Besides texturally really smooth and beautiful, this is incredibly grounding for me, and I love connecting with the mineral world in rock form as well. And crystals are so electric and so activating, many of them, although some do emotional things. I'm often, the energy I work with is, I would say electrical is not quite the right word, but let's use that word. And this is very helpful for me to find myself and embody the energies I work with. So while I'm chatting, I was holding my beach pebble, and I was holding a meteorite fragment from Cielo de Campo, which is, I think, I'm terrible with numbers, but I want to say like 40 billion years old or something. But it's super old, and it's what I love about it is iron based. And I don't know if many people know iron is fantastic for protection against things that go bump in the night. And although we don't work in fear and we work in love and all the beautiful things, we all have dips, and it is wonderful to also have the swimming pool clean and to keep it nice, you know, just to have that sense of scanning and clearing one's energy. So I use this meteorite more for connecting with my galactic starry family and myself and my multidimensional self. But I am aware that iron has its place, and it has this beautiful combination of grounding and elevating. And for me, it just sits straight in the heart chakra, which is very, very special. You know, I didn't really cover multidimensionality. That's always an interesting subject. What did he say, Rob? I was singing loud whilst riding my motorbike yesterday, and my throat started tickling, making me want to cough. I consciously decided not to cough, but fully experience the tickling sensation. It then turned into a perception of a stream of high energy entering my body as opposed to an irritation. It felt amazing. Wonderful. That is so great. You know, often that discomfort or that weird feeling in the throat is exactly that. It's opening or it's clearing. And I love that you sat with it. You know, I'm really curious and busy exploring for myself around identifying my emotions and letting them play out and experience within my body. For, you know, I think it was that 90 seconds that find it in your body. So that's really fantastic. I often find when I work on throat chakra, especially when I have in-person clients, people usually, because they don't know what I'm busy with, I ask them to close their eyes. They'll usually start coughing. And it's always so fascinating that where you work, there's often a physical response, or when you do a clearing, sometimes people will do a little bit of a spasm or a sneeze or something like that. So it's always wonderful validation when these things happen and you see the physical echo, the spiritual, but I hate to even pull them apart because really they're one and the same. Yeah, so what I was going to, the multidimensionality that I wanted to come back to was my understanding, you know, we are all one. I'm you, you are me. But beyond that, our spiritual team and our spiritual guides are often aspects of ourselves in another timeline or dimension. So, yeah, often the spirit guide we work with most is actually another version of ourselves, which psychologically is also, I suppose, accurate in some level, but another level, it's, I think we in our personalities as they are now may also guide them in their timeline, you know, whether it's an earth being or a Pleiadian or a light being. Obviously, I don't put that into the angelic category because I think they have a very different energy. Yeah, that's always amazing when angels come, but I think I should save that for another talk. I'm going to tell it all, talk non-stop. Okay, well, I think I should probably wrap this one up. And thanks everyone for interacting. It makes it so much more fun. And looking forward to chatting again in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, if you are interested to see more of what I do, you're welcome to check out my page, which is called Cosmic Soul Nicolette, and that's on Instagram and Facebook. And thank you for taking the time to listen and interact.